Hello Internet. Today I'd like to start off with talking about how awesome our school's gummy bears are. I mean, look at these guys. We've got green, we've got light green, we've got aqua, we've got purple, we've got bright pink, and this sort of weird peach color. And of course, you can't forget the white gummy bears. But why is she starting with this, you ask? Why isn't she telling us about the book she read this week? Shut up, Isabella. We don't care about your gummy bears. Just tell us about the book. Well, that's because the book I read this week is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Really, Suzanne Collins? I said I'd do it. There are no tables in here small enough to flip. So just a heads up, this video will be chock full of spoilers. But here's the quickie summary. So Katniss has been rescued from the Quarter Kell, along with Finnick and BT, by some rebels from District 13, which nobody knew existed anymore. Peeta and the other tributes weren't so lucky and were captured by the Capitol. Now the districts are in a full-scale uprising. And President Coin, the president of District 13, wants Katniss to be the Mockingjay, the symbol of the revolution. But after being used so much by so many different parties and just being a pawn in everyone's game they're not telling her, Katniss is not the most eager to just trust these people she has never seen before. Oh, and her district exploded. So now Katniss has to decide whether she wants to be the Mockingjay, and if that will be able to help her save Peeta, and kill President Snow, and get everyone a happily ever after, and the Capitol falls, and it rains gumdrops. End of quickie summary. So what did I think about Mockingjay? I have to admit, it was good, but I was kind of disappointed. This seems to be sort of the common consensus of a lot of people who like this series after talking to them. And it was interesting to explore more about the war aspect of what's going on and see both sides, and it's not very black and white. The whole time we think District 13 is this saving grace and we're going to be doing great because we know that they're there. But we see as the book progresses that there's this darkness there too, this underlying sinisterness. One of the parts I really liked that I think exemplified this was Gale's character development. And I'm not saying he didn't turn out sort of douchey, because he did turn out sort of douchey and that made me sad. But at the same time, I thought as a character he had the most interesting growth, and he definitely had that real questioning moral attitude. So did he know those kids were going to get bombed in front of President Snow's mansion? You like to think he didn't, but in the end it still probably was sort of his fault. And because they ended up winning the war, he probably didn't feel all that bad about it. It doesn't make Gale a bad person, it just makes him, I guess, a little more Machiavellian. And I think as someone who started out as kind of a minor character in the first book, he had the most interesting growth. So that's what I really liked about it. In terms of what I didn't like so much about it, and one of my friends actually described it really well, it seems really rushed in places. It's almost like she got bored writing the story and just like, oh, I'm gonna put this in here. There's a ton of time spent talking about Katniss in the hospital and all her injuries, and when she starts kind of becoming addicted to morphine. But then you have the ending, which is so important, that she actually votes in favor of the final Hunger Games and then assassinates President Coin. And they sort of rush through that whole part because you don't really get why she votes for the Hunger Games. And you kind of have to piece together that she was making Coin out to seem like the bad guy so she could be justified in assassinating her. Or at least that's what I think might be it. And then there was the way that some major characters' deaths seem really kind of skated over. Like Finnick. What the hell? He gets beheaded by some mutt in the sewers? What the actual hell? She has a flashback of his life. The end. Nobody talks about Finnick anymore after that. Maybe like 10 seconds. I loved Finnick. Okay? I loved Finnick almost as much as I loved Cinna. And speaking of Cinna, how come we heard that Cinna maybe died during torture? Oh, awesome. Great. That's very fulfilling for me. And they do highlight Prim's death a little bit more because it's so catastrophic to Katniss. But at the same time, it's like, oh, there's Prim. Oh, she's dead. There were so many great characters who died in this one. And I guess the casualness it was talked about was sort of the point that they are in the middle of war and they're not allowed to care about people as much and actually take the time to mourn them. And in the end, they're all still expendable. It's just like they're still in the games. At the same time, I kind of wish they would have given a little bit more credit to that, because we as readers really did care about them. Katniss makes her book. I don't have a book. I don't have a little memorial of Finnick that I can hold on to. I also thought it was kind of weird that the Capitol doesn't have one of its biggest exposés, because they brainwashed Peeta into hating Katniss, so why didn't they just have Peeta expose that he and Katniss were never really in love in the first place? Not that it would have been completely detrimental, but if you think about it, There were already a couple districts that weren't quite rebelling, they were just kind of on the cusp of rebelling. If they found out that Katniss had been lying to them about that, and being pregnant and all that fun stuff, wouldn't they think they were kind of being used by District 13 as well? And realize that maybe Katniss was just a pawn and not actually anyone really that important? Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I thought that probably would have been like one of Snow's first tactics. So overall, not exactly sure how I felt about Mockingjay. It definitely wasn't a bad book by any means, and it was definitely worth reading to finish up on the trilogy. But in the end, I thought it was sort of a disappointing end to a really good trilogy. Oh, except I really liked when Finnick exposed his whole backstory and secret and stuff. I really wish we could have learned more about that. I liked Finnick so much! Suzanne Collins. So yeah, if you read the first 2 books, definitely read it. But if you really like the first 2, I'd say don't get your hopes up too much. In my opinion, it wasn't as good. I think in a lot of people's opinions, it wasn't as good. And I just don't think it was that impactful conclusion that everyone was hoping it would be. But Katniss and Peeta have babies. But there are much worse games to play. I get it, because it's a Hunger Games reference. So that's what I thought about Mockingjay. Hopefully there'll be a few more reviews coming in the next few days. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you're doing well. Stay classy, internet. Peace. That one tasted like gross. I'm gonna eat it again. That one was fine. What kind was gross? Was it green? Was it you green? No, that was good. Was it you green? I can't figure it out. I told you what would happen if Cinna died. Oh god. Take that, Suzanne Collins!